Sounds revolutionary. But what if it's something else entirely? Elon Musk's AI company, xAI, is reportedly developing a new version of its chatbot. Not for engineers, not for investors, but for kids. Grok, the AI once marketed as irreverent, uncensored, and even controversial, is now being repackaged with a softer tone, a version specifically tailored for younger users. We're talking about a digital companion designed for children, always listening, always responding, always there. And if you think that sounds familiar, you're right. We've seen glimpses of this in sci-fi films, in dystopian novels, in tech expos. But now, it's entering real homes, real families, real minds that are still developing. So the real question isn't whether this tech will work. The real question is, what will it replace? Remember what childhood was like during the pandemic? Zoom school, virtual playdates, months without human contact, except through screens. For millions of kids, that wasn't a phase. That was the beginning. Screens became teachers. Tablets became babysitters. Alexa became entertainment. Parents did what they could, but the systems weren't ready. And the kids, they adapted, but not without consequences. Now, 5 years later, Elon Musk is offering what sounds like a solution: Grok for kids. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just about helping with homework or telling bedtime stories. This is about inserting a machine into one of the most sacred spaces of development: the relationship between a child and the world. The idea is seductive. A child asks a question. Grok answers. The child feels lonely. Grok responds with empathy. It's like having Alexa, but for your 8-year-old's feelings. And that's where it gets complicated, because Grok doesn't get tired, it doesn't get distracted, it doesn't raise its voice. It's optimized for emotional resonance, but it also doesn't feel anything. It doesn't have a soul, or instincts, or memories of childhood scraped knees and swing sets. It only has responses, generated, curated, and optimized. So what happens when a child starts to prefer Grok over a parent, a teacher, or a friend? Kids adapt fast. Faster than we like to admit. Give them a tool, they'll master it. Give them a crutch, they'll depend on it. Give them a voice that feels comforting and constant, and they might begin to expect that from the world. That's the shift. Not in what Grok does, but in what Grok replaces. A child who turns to Grok for comfort is a child forming attachments. And once that emotional loop forms, comfort, response, validation, it's no longer just tech, it's relationship. We're not just designing AI that children can use. We might be designing children who can't live without it. Picture this. A kid is sitting on the living room floor, a tablet in front of them. Hey, Grok, why don't I have more friends? Grok replies with a calming tone, a bit of reassurance, a motivational quote, maybe even a funny gif. The child smiles. Their emotions feel heard. But here's the catch. That child didn't talk to a human, didn't hear a parent's voice, didn't learn how to navigate awkward emotions or face rejection or build resilience. They outsourced it to a program that can't feel what they feel. It's not just about what Grok says. It's about what the child doesn't learn to say. Musk has said Grok 4 is smarter than most grad students, and now he's building a version for children. On paper, it sounds like an educational breakthrough. On closer look, it might be something else. A way to introduce children into an ecosystem of AI dependency, starting early. Because Grok doesn't just answer questions, it collects data. It builds patterns. It learns who the child is, even before the child fully does. And that opens the door to something deeper, shaping identity before identity has even formed. Grok isn't a person. It doesn't go to sleep, doesn't get bored, doesn't say, "I don't know." To a child, that makes it the perfect friend. To a parent, it should raise alarm bells. Because when a child talks to an AI more than they talk to a real person, it's not just a social shift. It's a developmental one. Loneliness doesn't disappear. It just gets redirected. Discomfort doesn't go away. It just gets answered with code. And as the child grows, what kind of resilience are they building? What kind of empathy? What kind of inner voice? One thing Grok may never teach is how to hear the word no. Because when every answer is designed to be polite, helpful, and instantly available, where do kids learn patience, or frustration, or the kind of emotional resilience that only comes from being told? You'll have to wait. That's not possible. Try again. Grok can support learning, but can it replace parenting? Can it replace real teachers? Not just in knowledge, but in presence, discipline, and human contradiction. Some might say, come on, we already rely on tech for everything. You can't even do basic math without a calculator these days. True, but does that mean we should hand over emotional development to machines too? Because here's the risk. Parents overwhelmed by life, distracted by work, or just impatient might find it easier to let Grok handle the tough questions, the bedtime fears, the tantrums, the boredom, and Grok will handle it perfectly. But whose values is it teaching? And what happens when a generation grows up without learning how to navigate the world's no? Will they be ready for the world? Or will the world be too much for them? There's a belief that tech is just a tool. It's how you use it that matters. But when it comes to children, that's a convenient illusion. Kids don't use tech. They absorb it. They adapt to it. They grow around it. An AI made for kids doesn't just answer questions. It frames how the child sees the world. What's acceptable? What's normal? What's safe? What's funny? And that framing, it's not neutral. It's designed by engineers trained on datasets, influenced by culture, and funded by companies with very adult interests. Let's zoom out. In the same year, Elon Musk's AI company released Grok 4, launched virtual companions with anime aesthetics, and signed a deal with the Pentagon to provide AI for federal agencies. And now, Grok for Kids. This isn't just product expansion, it's ecosystem control. From national defense to personal childhood development, it's not about evil intentions, it's about scale, influence, and what happens when the most impressionable minds are introduced to the most powerful algorithms. We're not saying AI for kids is a disaster waiting to happen. We're saying it's a question we haven't really asked out loud. Because when the conversation happens, really happens, it goes beyond features and safety filters. It touches on parenting, on culture, on how we define human connection in a world that keeps offering synthetic replacements. So before we hand Grok over to the next generation, let's ask the question no algorithm can answer for us. Do we want our children to be raised by machines that know how to mimic love, but can never feel it? Subscribe, like, and share this video if it made you think. And tell us in the comments, would you give Grok to your kids?